Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL, officially unofficial. I am still your host and hype person, Alex, was Alexi. I go by Master on the internet. I am joined by the nicest man around Summoner's Rift, Alex Hapgood, otherwise known as Nightmare. I was trying to think of a really complimentary word for N, and I was like, nice. And I'm like, my mother is cursing me right now.
That is blatantly untrue if you've seen my solo queue chat logs, but that's just life.
Being facetious is better sometimes.
You know, that's just one of the white lies we tell ourselves to get through every day. And talking about getting through today, I wasn't able to be here earlier. I had some extra obligations as I have done in the last week. But I'm joining Lexi for the last 2 games of today. We're both kind of color commentators by trade.
Yeah.
So we're going to go see how that works. I'm going to be play-by-playing because I like my own voice and I like to talk play-by-playing. So I'll get to shout a bit more and maybe explain a bit less. Tell us what you think of it in the comments.
With that comment said, hello everybody from VCS. Hello! You guys have come over. It's very lovely to see you all.
I'm the guy that declared war on you.
God damn it, you would have to come in when you're the declare war guy on them, so maybe that will pop them off in the chat. We'll figure that out. But for this game, we're going to see the Hawks coming in for their second game of the day after a loss against DFM, facing off against Sengoku, who are looking to pick up 2 wins in a row. They get 2 wins. They secure that second place spot, which actually pays off perfectly for Initialize, because that's how he predicted it all to go so far.
It is, yeah. Oh, yeah, very true. So if you go back to our very first podcast episode, you can tell us how wrong we were about our predictions and stuff. But my brother, Initialize, guy who's casting the other 2 games, he did predict DFM and then Sengoku and then the Hawks. He's not too far wrong at the top of the table so far. The problem for all of us is that we thought there'd be a very clear divide between the bottom of the table and the mid-table. That hasn't been the case.
There's also no bottom of the table. There's
no bottom of the table.
Gone.
There isn't. It's just, the bottom of the barrel is actually pretty high as far as it seems right now.
Well, our bottom team is the Hawks, who are currently sitting on that 4 wins and 7 losses, just taking a loss from DFM, who have just now, with that win over the Hawks, solidified that first place. They cannot be tied, even when Sengoku getting 4 more wins. That will push them to second place, fully locked by them. But they still have a lot to play for, because the Sengoku can be put into that low bracket of playoffs. Let's have a quick talk about the first game that we will be covering, which is this Sengoku Hawks game, and about this mid lane. Tussle just came off a pretty strong game, just kind of falling off, and the rest of the Hawks not having a great set around him. Dasher having a pretty bad game on Mordekaiser, facing against Ebby's set, which even with set going to a 2-5-1, Ebby was just in the perfect place, played perfect map with it, and then was lighting 3-4 man ults with Ornn ults coming in from Syros. It's just beautiful.
I didn't get to see all of that game because I was kind of in the background. I did have the stream on. I was just doing worky stuff, but I did see some pretty crazy showstoppers. So, sorry. Voice is starting to die, but Dasher, I think he's had a pretty decent split in terms of his debut in the top lane. Playing against Ebby is always a bit of a tripping stone for so many top laners, though. This guy tends to just run over any kind of matchup. We saw him do the set Mordekaiser matchup into Axe's Unyan in their, I'm trying to remember, I think that was their second matchup. Yeah, it would have been their second game, and just kind of destroying that pick. So he's shown that he's really good into that kind of matchup. And then from the side of Dasher, I mean, can you just write it off and just say it was against Ebby, don't worry about it? Or is this going to be a problem for this game?
Well, it was a pick. He chose to pick Mordekaiser into the set, and then or Ornn, which I still don't agree with personally. I don't think Mordekaiser's a great pick into it. And now you're facing
it's a really fun matchup.
But now you're facing against Apperman, who is arguably far more interested than Ebby in playing the side maps, which is what Ebby just did against the side of the Hawks, and it was shown to be very strong. Sengoku facing off against the Hawks is also a matchup which we have seen before, and it did go in the side of Sengoku. So this is a repeat run for the Hawks, going that no, we can play against this team. It is going to be important, but I'm expecting the most important place of this map is going to be this mid duo yet.
I agree.
Again, this is the 3rd game in a row where we've seen it, but when you're placing off against Ramone or Syros, the game is going to focus around these champs. And this is going to be an interesting spot because I'm not sure where I go. I kind of lean more on the side of the Hawks versus Sengoku when it does come to that mid-jungle duo.
The last time we saw these guys, it was effectively Ramune on his LeBlanc determining the game by himself, right? Yes. There was that fantastic pick with his LeBlanc onto Yutori Miyashi's Misfortune around a really important dragon fight. He managed to get a flank off of Vision, get the one-shot off, and that was pretty much the game off of that one fight, even though Sengoku had managed to get themselves some of the early game fights. My caveat for this would be, the entire Sengoku team is looking more confident. They're starting to find the picks that they can really express themselves on, stuff like NT's Morgana, having Pyrion going back to the LeBlanc, but then having a team around him which is more front-footed as well. So I think I'm looking for a slightly more even TU2 than I would have predicted a couple of weeks ago before Sengoku went on their winning streak.
Sure.
But last game, I mean, the Hawks looked pretty okay. I mean, obviously the game didn't go their way, but they had a good early game versus DFM.
They did. They had a pretty decent early game, and they had a pretty decent play around. They knew they needed to get that Dragon Soul, which they did. This is, again, another game where we have seen Dragon Soul not win the game. The problem is if you die when you get the Dragon Soul, it's rather redundant getting said Dragon Soul, and it was an infernal one. So it's a
nice little epitaph, like, here lies Sengoku had a Dragon Soul.
Yes. Well, it was the Hawks that had the Dragon Soul, and then they died to DFM going, well, we're just going to 4-man ult you and you die. So that's pretty good. 4-man CC, I've heard, is pretty good as a support man.
I hear it's okay. It's all right.
It's pretty good, especially when the support's doing it. It's just the top lane, mid laner somehow doing that much CC. It's like, oh, well, Yutori Muashi gets to land a huge ult through everybody and just, well, that could be the point for Sengoku. But with that in mind, let's actually go into this game of the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, who will be on the blue side facing off against Sengoku Gaming on the red side in 3, 2, 1. Let's go into this game.
Okay, so loading up for our third game of the day, third game of week 6. We have on the blue side Sengoku, no, this is the SoftBank Hawks Gaming, getting it wrong right off the bat. In the top lane, we have Dasher, in the jungle Tussle, mid lane Ramune, bot lane Honey, and support Pooh.
Yeah, and for Sengoku, in the top lane we've got Apperman, in jungle we have Blank, in mid lane we have Pyrion, in the bot lane we have Yutori Muashi, and as their support we have NT.
Okay, so we have the first 3 bans in so far. It's Ornn and Olaf, 2 O's from the Hawks, and then Yuumi and Olaf, Yuumi and Jarvan 4 taken away from Sengoku.
Yeah, pretty standard bans coming in so far. One person bans, like the Ezreal ban. For Yutori Muashi, yeah, he's definitely one of his champs, and I've said in the past, I think you should ban this champ against him. And
well, after the last week, right, Yutori Muashi looked really good on that champion.
Good. He was arguably the carry for Sengoku, which is, well, I mean, that's kind of his job, but it was just so strong on this Ezreal, which we've seen over the last few weeks has been coming in more prevalent than the champ that's been hovered at the moment, Aphelios, which has been locked in for him. Okay.
Right, so that's pretty fun. We see Aphelios still kind of being prioritized by Honey of all players, really. Honey's really liked that champion.
Yeah,
but on the other side, Sengoku, I'd agree so too. You told me actually going towards Senna, though. I'm trying to remember if we've seen him on that before.
Oh, this blind pick for Pyrion, I would... Okay, this is why hovering... Don't talk about hovering. Yeah, well, hovering's a crazy thing.
Of the Champions Light.
So, I guess we're going to be...
It is locked in. It is locked in.
I don't like the blind pick LeBlanc into...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really don't like the blind pick LeBlanc, especially when the bans that have been coming out aren't focused on that. You can just counter the LeBlanc in several ways, and I don't think LeBlanc
I guess we have seen Lissandra a few times from the LJL in particular.
Yes, we have, and we've seen, and I believe we could see Ramune pick that up, and it's not I believe actually he's one of the few people that has played Lissandra actually.
Maybe. I know that Galio and Axis did. I'm trying to remember if the Hawks did as well. Anyway, speaking of the Hawks, they have locked in both Galio and Rek'Sai. So Galio could be a flex pick between the support and the mid lane. We expect it to be more of a support. Gives you a bit more of that dive-in potential from the Gargoyle in that role. And then Tussle taking away Blank's favored pick of the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, that Rek'Sai has been coming in very important, but we have also seen Blank has some pretty good games on Lee Sin as well. So
that we have.
Picking up the Rek'Sai, which I believe does have a slight favor against
into
Lee
that
Sin.
matchup,
Yeah, so it's not surprising. Take away the better one and then taking that. As we do see Pyrion lock in the Tahm Kench, probably for NT. So this is going to be the Tahm Kench carry, Senna support, but it's not. Yeah.
Are you ready for the full tank, unkillable Tahm Kench with Spirit Visage Deadmans? Are you ready for that?
I'm ready for it, but I also want to ask you a question. Do you think... Ask me a question? Wow. Yeah, I want to ask you a question. Do you think the pick of this Galio as the support, which you could see with Senna as well, do you think that would be a better combination together, or do you just think you go for the Tahm Kench and you just don't even try and do fancy stuff?
I think that the Tahm Kench is pretty good against the Galio in this particular sense because, you know, the taunt comes out, you can take cleanse and then you can start devouring people up. So that means that Galio needs to taunt multiple people and then really get the full value out of that. I think Tahm Kench is just good with Senna in general because it means that Senna's very hard to kill. We do have some bans coming through though. We see the Nautilus and the Camille coming out of Sengoku and Gangplank being taken away by the Hawks. You know, it's so hard getting these names right. I got it wrong the very first time I tried to say it in this Champions League. SHG, SG. It's been plaguing us the entire split.
Oh, it really has been. Can we bring in the F, the Fukuoka? Can we please bring that? Can we bring in that somehow, like FH or something like that? That would be completely different. I'd be like, oh, the Hawks.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, or just HG maybe.
Maybe. Much as you were saying, though, Blank, his other favorite pick, is Lee Sin. It's been locked in. What do you think about the team comps coming out so far? What do you think Hawks are going to be looking for in these last two picks?
Well, if they lock in this Tarek, I really like where Hawks are going with this composition. As they do pick it up, I really like this. This is such a good engage, but also very strong disengage comp with the Tarek. Basically being able to play both. Rek'Sai is very good at getting into very tight spots and then basically coming down with that dazzle. Oh god, well it all went to pieces just then. Well, I'm out. They've lost. I'm sorry.
So here we see the live evolution of Lexi into disappointed Lexi. Harley is locked in.
No, don't pick up. Oh, Aurelia's so good. Oh.
What? So let's expand on that then. They're hovering over the Aurelia, but it's not been locked in so far. They're hovering over various things. What don't you like about the Akali since it's been locked in?
Oh, it just doesn't work with this composition at all. This was a comp that was so good at engaging and disengaging, while Akali is good at kind of going in and out on her own. The damage output that she offers is not what the team really needs. You want long-term damage. I would have actually really liked this Aatrox, really, actually, on the side of the Hawks, because then you have this Aatrox that can sustain a lot of damage, also very good at giving out a lot of damage over time. Arguably, I would have even preferred Kayle. I wouldn't like Kayle, but I would have taken a Kayle.
He's played too.
Exactly. I'm trying to pick champions that Dasher does play, but this Akali just doesn't do anything that this comp wants to do. This comp, 4 picks, beautiful. Dasher, what the... I mean, this might have not been Dasher, this might have been Awaker.
You can't say on broadcast.
This might have been Awaker deciding this, but now I really like Sengoku's draft. This was a great draft by them, and they happened to get lucky into...
And I think that, looking at the Sengoku team, there are a lot of picks which they prefer, right? We see that Yutomi loves being on these consistent backline AD carries. He loves playing his longer range things, like the Misfortune
and scaling.
And it scales. Very true.
Yes, and he loves his scaling champions.
He absolutely does. And then Pyrion's on the LeBlanc as well. We've talked about how important this pick is for the LJL. We have the likes of Pyrion, Ramune, and Adia, who really love that pick in particular.
Yes.
We have everything locked in now, though. We see a lot of dive from the side of the Hawks. What do you think Sengoku have to do to survive this wombo that the Hawks are trying to put out?
Well, Sengoku have been shown, especially with a player like Apperman, that they are more than happy to play a game to 30-40 minutes, and they are more than happy to go that way because they know Apperman is very good at playing around the map. Arguably the best player playing around the map from that top lane outside of maybe Ebby, really.
Yeah, well, it's hard to compare anyone to DFM, but that being said, Sengoku did take the game off of them.
They did, and
finishing out the split pretty strong.
And Apperman is one of the big reasons why Ebby was not able to get any far ahead. Arguably, Apperman got ahead in that matchup. As we do go on the Rift, they just need to sustain the game up to 30 minutes, 35 minutes, I think, and then they basically get the win. They just can't give up too many objectives. But I do think if the Hawks, as we've said, if they get ahead, they're very good at keeping that head up. That's why the game against the Hawks, when Hawks played off against TSM earlier, the previous game, they never got quite ahead. They did have 6 kills over DFM,
At
a 1 and 7. Yeah, but the problem is they didn't have a gold lead. And that was the problem. If they had the 3k gold lead, which is about what those kills equal, they definitely could have taken a far more momentum-based game, which is what the Hawks do. The problem is they never got the momentum going, and then DFM played the game how they wanted.
DFM did DFM things, and yeah, we saw how that worked out. So, we see the 5-man spread from both teams. We see that there's actually a Doran's Ring start from the Akali in the top lane. I don't know if you've got any particular opinions on starting items for the Akali in particular. We sometimes see something like a Doran Shield. This build gives you a little bit more AP though. What do you make of that?
I would have honestly, I would have preferred a Doran's Blade.
Oh, really?
Yes. So commonly people take adaptive damage as your extra runes on Akali, right? And the early game, when you take the adaptive damage, because of how Akali builds, I would have actually liked the Doran's Ring for the sustain that it also offers with the lifesteal that you get there. I don't think the Doran's Ring for the extra AP is really going to be negligible.
Exhaust committed already in the bot lane here. I was going to let you finish that, but the trade went a bit long there.
Yeah.
It's a summoner. It's for summoner trade.
Oh, God, it's still going!
They are still going here. There's a lot of damage traded apart, but then like when you're dealing with this, every time that Yutori Miyashi is dealing damage here, he's getting gold from that sickle, and he's dealing damage as well. That's a 2-man queue to finish off the trade as well. It's some early brawling on the bottom side of the map.
And Dasher just getting dominated by Apperman, who was just healing up, just using his potion, keeping going. Well, it's not even a oh, he did use a potion. He did. I thought.
Yeah, there's a potion aside there. One used on the side of Dasher. Does start with 2 potions when you have the Dawn's Ring.
Twitter poll coming in. Oh God, as Apperman still just continuously beating up Dasher as Dasher tries to give some return back onto him, but he's not close enough without his dash quite coming in yet.
No, unfortunately not. Some good trading on the both sides. There's a gank in the mid lane as well. Flash committed from Tussle. Perion flashing out as well. Chain lands, but it's still a good trade from the side of the Hawks. Jungler for mid lane flash. We might see a mid lane return gank as that summoner has been blown.
And I really do like that Blank was right behind in case that Tussle did start to think of maybe aggressive or Amane, that he can return back and actually probably kill one or the others with Perion's assistance. As
Oh, it's a good trade from Dasher as the chains land his first blood for Apperman on the Aatrox. The extra instance of damage when the chains pulling him in meant that the last auto did secure the kill for our 1v1 carry Apperman in the top lane.
And Dasher, you could just see him there look so disappointed with himself, like how he played all of that. He didn't think he was going to die. He still had his flash up, so he didn't have to die if he didn't think he was dying. But Apperman, never count him out. This is a champion that we've seen him before on. He's so good at playing these kind of champs where they need to scale. But if you can give them an inch, they'll take it. And I'm questioning that Doran's Ring as we do see them fighting again. Apperman does have a level advantage, and he also had the creep advantage as well, as Dash is trying to give some form of return back. Does level up in between this, but it looks like it's going to be a quick disengage.
Nice play-by-play from you there as well. We see now there's an item advantage up in the top lane for Apperman. Comes back with the full full orb there. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Gives them the 10% CDR and the extra HP as well, as opposed to just the longsword on the Akali. As you're saying, we never try and counter Apperman in these kind of situations. He is so very, very good in these 1v1s, even against the likes of Ebby.
Yeah, and we're seeing a CS equal in the bot lane. It's very weird to have to flick around the support and the carry and be like, yeah, no, the support has the gold that's meant to be there, but Yutori Miyashi actually has a lot of hidden gold. As Apperman and Dash are still fighting as the pull comes in.
Oh no!
Dasher very slowly thinking about this flash from Apperman. Coming in, Dash is hungry, and he gets it!
The last Q comes in from Dasher there on the Akali, gets the Conqueror stacked up. This time when the chains pull him in, it doesn't actually matter. Flashes out of the cage and turns around for some pretty huge damage. Trading on the bot side as well, though, with the Infernum from the Aphelios there, but it doesn't really lead to much as Tahm Kench likes to do what he always does and resets the fight.
And he really did reset that fight and then actually healed up so much damage. It was almost completely negligible. Everything that the bot lane of the Hawks just did. And Honey and Pooh have to reset and recall back with the gold that they have got. I expect that to be a BF sword. No!
Okay, maybe didn't have enough gold for that. Went towards the Berserker Greaves instead.
And a potion. I wouldn't be so... Yeah.
Oh
okay.
no, Taun's going to land here in the mid lane. Tussle coming in for the knockup. Gets it just there in time. Although, even though the clone tried to play some fancy tricks there, walking towards the river instead of tower, they sniffed that out and Perion goes down for the second kill of the game for the Hawks, this time going over to Tussle.
And I do want to give some credit to the Hawks here. They look a little bit more confident after that slight misplay by Dasher, trying to really measure up to Apperman, calling his bluff. Now, momentum is slightly on the side of the Hawks, and they definitely seem to be playing with a bit more aggression, as they had such a good game versus DFM, as Apperman and Dasher still fighting, getting that pullback.
Six is here as well, actually, so pretty dangerous here from Apperman to take this kind of trade. Veil goes down, doesn't end up leading to anything more. Apperman just disengaging as the wave is coming into tower. Anyway, it's still a lot of fireworks in the top lane, though.
Oh, these two are just fighting. You can tell Dasher is a mid laner still at heart, because he wants to fight whenever he gets an opportunity. With this Akali still throwing out those Qs, it is interesting to see how they're still fighting, but neither of them really want to fully commit to one or the other when they get a slight advantage. As we see, well, Pinning hit it a little bit of a lull state unless they still want to keep fighting for the sake of fights. As we see Tussle coming to steal the red buff away from Blank.
This is the first time we've seen a jungler really head up towards the top side in any sort of aggressive fashion. This will mean that the Cloud Drake does go over to Sengoku, though, as Blank starts that up, starting that Drake stacking. We saw that it doesn't always work out for a team. Obviously, the Hawks didn't manage to win, even with the Cloud Soul, as you were saying, versus DFM, but it's still a nice buff nonetheless.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is very smart by them. They can expect they're probably losing potentially part of their top jungle, but they had that bot lane priority, which is why they were so comfortable with just letting Blank take that dragon without experiencing too much pressure, as Honey does want to go aggressive onto NT, but that's not the person you really want to go aggressive onto.
Level 6 hit now, though. Level
Dazzle
6
comes through, only onto NT again. This is just not what you want. If you get this level advantage, you really need to be pushing it, but the problem is Sengoku was so tanky.
Tahm Kench?
Exactly, and then Tahm Kench is just getting even more tanky because he has so much more gold than you're expecting him to have.
Yeah, and I wish we could see how many souls there are already from the Senna. Looks like Utami actually doing pretty fine down in that bot lane, and the trades, even though they look like they're quite interesting, don't actually end up to much in the way of HP advantages. We see the junglers once again going to different sides of the map. So, we see this Herald coming up here. What do you expect to happen in the next couple of minutes of the game? Anything you're really looking out for?
Well, I would be expecting that Ramone needs to really start playing around the map. He's at 7 now, so he has his ultimate, and he really needs to start applying pressure to this bot lane. He can very quickly kill Yutori Muashi or Enti, especially with his taunt, so he needs to be aggressively thinking about that. But currently, he's playing far too much around this mid lane. As Dasher goes in against Apperman ults, and he's going in for it! He does it!
He gets out! Oh, man, so Apperman pops the World Ender a bit early, tries to use it for the regen and the movement speed, but the Shuriken flip has already landed from Dasher. Does manage to get the perfect execution kill with the execute.
For him here. He's wanting to see if he pushes up here as it gets very interesting here. The problem is for him, if he doesn't quite, the pings are coming out onto Tussle, so he knows if he goes for Dasher, he needs to kill him very quickly, as Ramone is getting stunned here by Perian, but we're not going to get to see that as Blank comes in.
So the Shroud's already been used. The Center is used for the extra damage. He does get the damage to get the shutdown kill onto the Akali in the top lane.
And assist going through to Yutori Muashi after using that Center ult, so important, helps that gold lead.
The damage was pretty good there.
Yeah, and now it's going to keep things a lot closer for the side of Sengoku.
And what it means is that with Dasher dead for the next 10 seconds, they might even be able to start and finish this Herald before the Akali can get back into the lane. They're just holding it right towards the north side of the map here. Might reset, actually, with that.
I think it's the absolute max you can throw it without it resetting. That is very well played by Sengoku. Herald
that far, actually. But there's going to be a collapse from the Hawks here. Either way, Perian going to dive through.
He picks up the barrel. He picks up the Rift Herald to then get out. I love that. That's so well played.
Okay, so coming back into the wider fight here, we see that Aphelios has dropped the ult. There's no ult available from the Akali, and Sengoku get away with that with no kills to the other team.
That is very well played. I very like Perian by deciding just we're not going to do the mistake that the Hawks did against DFM. We're going to take our Rift Herald if we actually get it, and they actually decide to go in behind, really abuse the LeBlanc ultimate just to take it. And I mean, it worked. And now the Hawks had no return onto them. They couldn't punish them. And well, the Hawks and Sengoku just get to take it for Scott 3. And now we're just seeing the bot lane now in the top lane, as we've seen this matchup before. Jungle Ocean pressure is going to be coming up for this Ocean Drake.
Yes, it will. Both bot lanes on the top side of the map right now, as you're rightly saying, kind of the follow-on effect from everyone kind of shuffling into that pit there in the Herald fight. Does mean that we'll have a little bit of a quiet minute, though, where we can back off a little bit, save our voices, think about what we want to say next. Unless, of course, the bot lane, which is now the top lane, starts fighting as they're currently doing. The Infernum available to Honey, but no ultimate was used in that last fight as well.
And the big difference that the Sengoku do have is they're playing Tahm Kench. They have a Tahm Kench ult, which means if they want objective control, they can get there far quicker. I really like this play by Sengoku, forcing the two of the bot lane of the Hawks to come up and mimic them and mirror them for respect of the damage. They don't want to lose their towers for the sake of it. But because mid lane has the Rift Herald, because Superior has this Rift Herald, they can aggressively force a mid collapse very quickly, and then they can get down to mid lane, potentially force this turret down, and also take the dragon over in the next 30 seconds or so.
But as we're saying that, obviously Dasher is pushing into this bot lane. There is always the omnipresent... as we see actually a trade coming in there. I'll drop that point just as you see Unofficial takes a good amount of damage, and the heal is forced out. 20 seconds till the dragon spawn. That might end up being quite important, as neither of these bot lanes are going to be there to fight for it on spawn. And the fight still keeps going. The onslaught coming out from Honey.
Honey's got a lot of damage.
He does have a lot of damage, as you were saying, though. The root comes through for the second time there. Some nice trading as Honey was hiding out in the brush. Gets some good HP away from Yutorimayashi.
Empyrean's coming up using the Rift Herald here. Interesting. Trying to apply all the pressure, as we do see the Hawks going for this dragon on the mini-map. And they do take it. So they're really going for this top pressure. I'm a bit surprised that they just... that Sengoku just decided to kind of give it up and potentially just trying to give more gold over to the side of Enti and Yutorimayashi, as they do try and put some more damage down and try and potentially get more plates, as the rest of the map is in kind of a lull reset point.
It's getting a little bit quiet. We see that it's actually the Mountain Rift which has spawned as well. Ramune might try and all-in on Pyrion here, though. Oh, he does misjudge the Justice Punch there, though. Uses the Protopelt to get in range for the taunt. Forces the flash out of Pyrion.
So we see Blank.
Also force out some stuff. Is
TP
Blank
from Apperman.
Although
that's Pyrion actually TPing in.
Pyrion TPing in just went back to base there, I think. Comes back with a pretty full HP.
Now they just reset.
Yeah, they do get the Cosmic Radiance, though, out of the Taric. Dissuades the dive just about there. As on the other side of the map, we see actually a 30 CS lead built up for Dasher on this Akali, which we were criticizing in the Champion Select. What do you think, after we've seen 14 minutes of the game so far, how do you think this Akali's playing out right now?
Mixed bag of fruit, I think, is the easiest way for me to put it. Some of it's really tasty and really good and you're loving it, but then you accidentally eat into that lemon and you're so sad. You're like, why did I do that? And that's basically what the Hawks began with. They went straight for the lemon, had a big bite of it, very tough skin, and also very sour taste on the inside. But then you had an apple and an orange and you're actually kind of okay with it. It's really, I'm not sure how to judge it. Dash has been playing well. There is a gold lead now for him with those 2 kills. Killing twice onto Apperman. The problem is the scaling is going to come in very important. And Apperman is going to just become this one-man machine, which is going to be so hard for the side of the Hawks. They're going to have to send arguably Honey and Tussle just to have a chance to really kill them. And that's using the least amount of pressure. It's going to become so hard to kill Apperman.
It will do at some point into this game. However, he is sat at a 2-level deficit here right now at this current moment in time, so it will take just that bit longer to become that team fight menace we know Aatrox to be in the LJL. We've seen some great players of this champion, but the Akali is working out pretty okay in the 1v1 so far, like you're saying. That's more like the orange or the apple at that point.
Yes.
We'll see when it turns to lemons later on, but when life gives you lemons, maybe you can get some solo kills.
Maybe you can. Sometimes you can't. The only thing I do want to say is this Mountain Drake on either team does favor Sengoku. This is a team from Sengoku. If they get that Mountain Drake, it's just going to be almost impossible outside of Honey to really kill anybody from the side of the Sengoku. But in that same sense, Sengoku are okay at actually fighting through a Mountain Dragon up team. It's just adding a little bit more of tankiness onto the side of a relatively tanky team outside of Dasher and Honey, which doesn't actually mean they're going to gain a huge match more damage, as I have said earlier.
We might be seeing a bit of a dive there. Actually, no, sorry, I just cut you off a little bit too early there. I saw Tussle there, and I was like,
Dasher's in a little bit of an awkward place. Yeah, shurikens across, does get it as Apperman is here to meet him, pulls in, does push up onto it. Oh my god, Apperman, you're going off. Dasher trying to fight back.
The World Ender committed from Apperman there. Does manage to disengage though. Does Akali. Does Dasher. Gets out with a little bit lower HP than he would have liked. And it does mean that he might have to give up on the bot lane tower. However, Sengoku are giving up on the second Rift Herald. As we see Dasher actually get hit by the...
TP in from the side of
Ramune as well. Ramane's there, but Dasher is already dead. The taunt comes in, but there's no tower shots onto Apperman there. Has the flash available to him as well. Flashes over the wall. Tahm Kench ult coming out as well, just to save his top laner. It's a 1 for none for the side of Sengoku, and they're going to get the top tower as well.
Yes, the only thing that did happen throughout all of that is Tussle and Ramune, before coming in, they were able to take that... Rift Herald, Krabby. So, because that was taken, they didn't completely lose anything, though obviously Pyrion being able to take this top turret almost negates the whole fact of even fighting for this Rift Herald or trying to gain some value for it. So
I guess the bonus is maybe they can take mid turret with it at some point, which is normally the tough nut to crack. We've talked about fruit, let's talk about nuts. If that mid turret goes down, one of the great things about playing a center is that you can just sit in mid lane and wave clear for forever. But if there's no turret there, it does mean you're a bit... there's no turret to fall under. You can get dived, particularly with the likes of the Akali dashing in over walls with the ultimate, and then the Galio falling up as well. We see another dive here, but the Tahm Kench is coming in for the disengage. What a tanky champion. How fun is that to see? Survives, does Yutori Miyashi.
Just Tahm Kench things. 3 players try and collapse upon a Tahm Kench and the center. Tahm Kench eats the center. Oh, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, he has a Sunfire cape.
Oh my god!
You can't kill the guy.
And this is on 10.4, remember? This is the buffed Sunfire cape.
I'm trying to remember if that comes in 10.4 or 10.5. Either way, it's a strong thing. Oh, we do see the dazzle.
She gets eaten, but it doesn't matter.
And we see Apperman now here as well. It's a
pulled in, Dasher!
Dasher is dead before the Cosmic Radiance comes in, before the hero's entrance comes in. That's a huge committal of ultimates from the Hawks, and they still lose a man, and they don't get the Tower of the Herald push. That is advantage Sengoku.
And Sengoku with this are going to probably pressure aggressively onto this mid lane tower, and then also take this dragon, forcing dragon, taking priority, 1 extra dragon, especially when it is the dragon that you are ultimately going to be getting the soul of. We have seen incredibly important. It's almost arguably better in some cases to stack 4 of that dragon because you gain such a buff. And now getting 3 of a Mountain Drake on the side of Sengoku. Imagine getting the soul. It's gonna almost become impossible. As I was saying earlier, it's better for Sengoku both ways around because of how this draft went to get the mountain.
Yeah. I guess so, because Aatrox builds a lot of HP, does have some resist because he's a melee champion as well. The Mountain Dragon's quite nice there. But like this Tahm Kench, we already saw that. He was pretty hard to kill, I think it's fair to say.
Yes!
What happens when you have 3 mountains?
He's level 10
against that point.
It's level 10. Honey, Dasher, and Pooh were trying to kill them. And that's 2 of your carries and a support who can stun. And you're just like, and who did stun twice. And it's just like, eh.
So
cool
the 100 acre bot lane are going to need 100 acres more of damage if they want to fell the tree, which is NC here on the Tahm Kench. He has himself Tubby, he has himself Sunfire, has a stopwatch and another Chain Vest. I don't think he really cares about any damage in this game right now.
And this is the problem when you have a Tahm Kench, air quotes, carry. This is a Tahm Kench that has gold. You're not expecting a Tahm Kench to have gold with a Senna who has probably got an insane amount of souls, and it will be continuously as they are holding hands because it's working so beautifully for the side of Sengoku. So moving forward, Honey is the hope in my eyes now for the hope of the whole team, because Honey is going to be their only consistent damage.
The hope is maybe, so when you have the Cosmic Radiance coming in and you dive in with a Rek'Sai who normally has to, well, you're going Warrior, you do die pretty quickly, you're not a full tank. And then the Akali who also likes to dive, but then builds full AP, so you also die pretty quickly. Maybe the Cosmic Radiance from Taric can buy enough time for the Galio ult to come in and you can start nuking a couple of members. Maybe you catch out the LeBlanc, maybe you catch out the Senna as well. But that's just kind of a hope and a dream at this point when you've got Matt and Drake stacking and you have the Tahm Kench, who is impossible to remove as well, right?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And I think it's important. Akali hit an item spike, didn't really pop off. Arguably went the opposite way and has now died twice with that Gunblade. And now, yes, she can hit her second item spike with that Zhonya. Already having used the stopwatch, I expect that will be the second item coming in because it helps Akali, one, feel that floor of being a little bit tanky, but two, also getting deleted very quickly, able to reset a lot of your cooldowns with that few seconds of the Zhonya ult. You do feel like the side of Sengoku are just taking this a very methodical approach that we've seen them happily always try and play for the 40-minute games.
I was about to mention that.
Ah, see, it's like I'm
because I was like, oh, you know, it'd be really nice if I brought up a point which Lexi had said earlier and be like, hey, how's this going? You said they love to play towards 30 minutes. You brought it up yourself. You're that person that packs their own packed lunch. You don't need any feeding from your co-workers or anything. I'm like, how do I make his job easier? Maybe I can bring up something which you said before. No, you've got it covered. Is there anything else which you're really looking to in this next couple of minutes? Though we obviously the Baron is live. It's pretty early on though, and Senna's not particularly good at taking that objective. What else are you looking for around this map?
Well, I think this is the part of the game where Hawks really need to try and get far better vision, especially around this bot side. They need to, one, really push down this mid turret, really open up the side of Sengoku for them, as they do have a very low bot lane and mid lane turret for Sengoku. This is a fight where they need to, one, in my opinion, push mid and bot, and two, start thinking about this dragon, because if they have to get this dragon.
As you're saying that about vision control, the spectators very much agree. They hover over two sweepers being used and the Umbral Glaive from Yutori Miyashi clearing out so many wards. We see that there is so much red vision around the Dragon Pit. There are two surviving blue wards behind the Sengoku line of defense if they did choose to go towards that dragon. Could mean that there could be a double teleport kind of ward position coming in, but it's very good that you pick up on that vision control there because it will be very important if Sengoku get themselves up to Yutori
Miyashi just dealt like 300 damage to a Rek'Sai with an auto attack and a bind. Imagine if like Tahm Kench is doing everything. That's just going to be a dead tussle.
It will be. And I think the last time that the spectator checked in on the center was around about 80 souls there on the AD air quotes carry. Still has an item to her name, a complete item in the Umbral Glaive, and has the Executioner's Calling as well. I love that
Executioner's Calling.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Yeah, because particularly when you have if you do have a Kali with a Gunblade coming in, and then the Severum on Aphelios, it can mean that they heal up quite a bit. If you manage to land any physical damage on them, means that won't be cutting through nearly as much.
Very true. Now looking around, Honey is still very behind. As we're coming in for a fight here, Pyrion was looking onto Ramune, gets that shield down, and they just reset away. They don't want to fight until this dragon is fully up, because they can juggle this really well.
Oh, Dash goes in there with the Shuriken flip, doesn't commit the ult yet.
Ramune misses everything.
He does force the flash out of Apple either way, though.
Who doesn't want to go for the Q, makes sense. That'd be very aggressive. I wouldn't go on a Taric with a Q with a Lee. As Pyrion does stun Ramune, gets the stun again through the ult, but misses.
Okay, we see that the center ult is committed there. Turrets are down from Honey there on the Aphelios, but the dragon is still alive.
Dasher goes in so far into the back lane. Goes onto this hero's entrance.
Side of Hawks.
Oh god, Pyrion's happening, going in through. Tussle gets taken down very low. Blank is fighting as the ult turret comes through. Everybody's coming in again. Ramune misses the taunt on everybody on the side of Sengoku. I'm more than happy to reset around. And even though Dragon was taken so low by the side of the Hawks, it doesn't quite get it low enough as we hit another reset point.
We do hit another reset point, but this time the Hawks won't have the hero's entrance, won't have the Moonlight Visual, won't have the Cosmic Radiance, or the perfect
TPing in. And they're just going to aggressively force this dragon down because Appermen already reset back, and the side of Ramune and Dasher do have that, but they haven't gone back yet. Looks like they're just going to give up this dragon as they didn't reset fast enough.
Dragon goes down, it's soul point over to Sengoku after all of the ults kind of fire on empty cylinders there from the Hawks. No kills coming through. Means that in an even fight with no ultimates available, it's definitely Sengoku which are coming through big.
And I want to just ask you that question about how low did that Dragon go initially for the
pretty low.
side of the Hawks? Because I thought it went down to less than 1,700.
It was pretty low, but then the problem is the Sonic Wave had connected from the Lee Sin. Lee Sin, one of those notorious dragon stealing champions, because obviously the second part of his Q is an execute, means that if you do get it pretty low, Lee Sin can come through with a couple of hundred damage from his Q on top of the smite. It means that he does have that artificial smite advantage if timed correctly. The Hawks didn't want to give that chance over to Sengoku, but then they went for the fight, messed up the fight, and the dragon went their way anyway.
And that showed Sengoku are more than happy to not pick up a kill just to take that dragon. They are methodical in how they're doing this. And with a Senna, they really want this game to go long. As I've said countless times, as Dasher is poising up to Apperman, trying to find an opening, but just currently taking some CS.
You know, you were talking about, so you said the point earlier about how you thought that Sengoku really benefit from Mountain Drakes. I mean, a lot of the time we see Aatrox go towards something like a Sterax or a Death's Dance second, which isn't necessarily building up resist, but it is HP. Maybe it's kind of that off-tank kind of thing.
Yeah,
what we see
100%.
from Apperman now is a Spirit's Visage, which So this guy obviously is watching into our stream into the future. Obviously, we're not casting it live. It is a blast from the past. Apperman going to be getting that extra 8% resists from... Oh, we see Dasher going in. I'll cut off that point.
Go in for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Go for it. Okay, so Apperman is coming in here. The ults are committed from both teams. We see there's 4 people in the bot lane from... There's only 3 from the Hawks here as the fight continues. No kills come through yet. Ramune now caught out of sorts in the middle of 5 members from Sengoku. And 5 is far too many people for this Galio to stand up against. Goes down as the only kill of the fight. Ultimates burned once again from the Hawks to no avail. If they did have a composition identity, it is that Wombo, and they've lost out on the fight. At least they get the consolation prize of that mid-inner turret, and it is a valuable prize nonetheless. It is something we talked about earlier in the game as this bulwark which allows Sengoku to keep up their line of vision.
But this mid lane that this bot lane that I talked about of the Tahm Kench Senna, it looked kind of questionable at the beginning, but we've seen it be countless plays. But one thing I did say is when Sengoku forced the Hawks to match them in that top lane like over 10-15 minutes ago now, I said that they can go play around this map far quicker than basically anything else. And that's exactly what we saw there. Sengoku were able to basically bring Entry and Yutoimashi down with that Tahm Kench ult and play the 5v3 in a split second. Whereas the Hawks, they have to commit TPs when one of your players is already down there, with Dasher being that. Honey and Pooh have to just take the mid and think, I'm sorry, guys, we can't get down there. You guys asked for this fight, and you didn't want it.
Absolutely. So they didn't have Honey, didn't have Pooh for that last fight, so no Cosmic Radiance to buy time, and also nothing to buy time on the side of Dasher as well. Went towards
105 souls for Senna.
Oh, well, that's a huge amount of souls coming out for Yutomiyashi here. He has so much range, going to give him even more safety in these team fights. But just going back to the point I was going to make, there is no Zhonya's on this. No, the game does, we are at the whims of the game. And there is no Zhonya's for the side of the Akali's come through for the Morellonomicon. Maybe trying to cut through some of that Spirit's Visage, World Ender healing alongside stuff like the Senna's Piercing Darkness as well. Does mean that if there's no Cosmic Radiance, there's no way to buy time for this diving front line of the SoftBank Hawks, and they went for that fight. Remember, they committed the Galio wall, and they just didn't respect the Abyssal Voyage, like you were saying.
I'd love to know what LS is thinking about this Akali Morellonomicon. Like, I mean, you just have to look at it. The Blasting Wand, you should have just been going for the Zhonya's. I don't know why he didn't.
Blasting Wand doesn't go into his Zhonya's.
I know, but that's why when I saw that, I was like, oh, in my head, I was like, wait, that's old Zhonya's that it would build into. New Zhonya's doesn't use that. And I'm like, well, this is very questionable. You needed the Zhonya's to still keep your power spike happening. I don't think the Morello's is going to be the power spike you need, because Tahm Kench has now got his second item with Boots, still having a Zhonya as well of his own, or the stopwatch. This Tahm Kench is so tanky.
He's got a Kindle Gem too. He's 2.5 items even. Oh. This guy is so... He has 3,000 HP.
And all they want is this Mountain Drake, which comes up in 10 seconds. I think this is snuck up on the Hawks, and they're not expecting this. Tussle taken
will be soul point, like we're saying.
Low.
Soul Point, and then Tussle takes a third of his HP to Pyrion as well. Went for the Void Staff second item. Going to be definitely helping in towards those more tanky players of the Hawks. We see the posturing coming around here. This is going to be, make no mistake, one of the key team fights this game. Apperman, like you're saying, he's hanging out towards that bot side there, has a flanking position. He has the flash available to him. He's gone round the other way, trying to group up a little bit more with his team. Dragon down to half HP. Pyrion jumping forward, gets a good trade onto Dasher there, and then healed up by his own center. Dragon starting to reset. Pyrion jumps in again. Apperman is now being forced onto, though, as the Hawks do turn around onto him. The Dazzle doesn't land, but Apperman does get out alive. Dasher on the flank there as well.
Looking for it.
As we see the Dragon go down to the side of the Hawks, and Blank does use the stopwatch, but will die regardless for this. No kick used. Dasher going on towards Apperman as well, but the Spirit Village with enough MR to save the Aatrox in the top lane there does dash out of there as well, but it's the Rexile which kills off Apperman, and Ramune still in the thick of things, but Yutorimashi is full HP. Pyrion in the mid lane clearing out the wave, but Sengoku back off the fight, licking their wounds. 2 down from their side, and nothing to show for the side of them. Does get taunted up there. The fight keeps going on, but Pyrion has no damage onto him. Dasher TP's in with a home guard, but it's the Taric that's down already. It's 1 dead for the Hawks in a 3v5. Pyrion flashes forward for the last Sigil of Malice there, killing off the Rek'Sai too. Pyrion going Super Saiyan from the mid lane from Sengoku.
And that has just mirrored it up completely. They've only lost a dragon now, so this is basically negligible, as Pyrion still trying to be a god. Dash is going for him.
Dasher, the heal, the Devour saves him. It's the hero's entrance onto only the clone of Pyrion. This is a game of inches, and one which Pyrion is handily winning.
So the Hawks, at the end of everything that happens, they get the dragon. Bot lane turret does go down for the side of the Hawks. That does mean they do have the turret advantage now, and they do get that dragon. But at the end of it, it does end up being 3 for 3, I think?
Okay, well, it's the replay, and you're meant to be the color, so you can walk through all this, which I shouted through.
Sure. So we're seeing that, obviously, the Hawks have no value of actually seeing anything. Pyrion's able to just jump over and just completely delete with the ultimate as well, taking Tussle so low down.
And he pings back.
And that's why he goes back and he's able to just eat that for free, mirroring up and basically equals out any form of negate that could have come through. Pyrion, as you said, Super Saiyan, now 4-1 on this LeBlanc.
He has some Banshees fully bought there as well. I wonder if he actually one-shopped that. Is that a 4-1 on the LeBlanc?
I think you're right. That might have actually been a one-shot.
Might have been a one-buy.
I don't remember him having that beforehand.
I could have also just not been paying attention. Like, I wasn't breathing for the last couple of minutes. Hey, this play-by-play stuff's pretty fun, huh?
It's pretty fun when you're interjecting it between 2 different people, and then it's wow, this game's been a weird one. It's interesting, right? So we've seen a lot less kills in this game than compared to our DFN
Hawks
the team
fights just haven't led to anything.
Yes, that's been the interesting part. They've been able to posture far better, and this is a game where Sengoku know what to do in this form. This is a game, as I've said countless times before, they're methodical. They drafted a scaling composition, whereas the Hawks did not. And this is a game, outside of Aphelios, the Hawks have very limited scaling.
They do. I mean, Galio, he does some pretty big bursts if you do build the right items onto it. Like, he's got some AoE burst, but then, like, he kind of runs out of cooldowns, and then you kind of sat there in the middle of the team fight, like, this isn't too fun. And we saw that for his only death of the game. He kind of worked his way into 5 members and was left for dead. Once you use the initial round of rotations, it does suck pretty badly. At least he has some good delivery systems to get into the middle of the team fight. They've just not managed to land it onto the important targets just yet.
Yeah, and Mountain Drake's already going to be up again because that team fight went on for so long after the Drake was killed. It'll be up in 1 minute 40 as Tussle is taken solo. Oh, it pops the GA!
He gets the full GA out of a full combo from the LeBlanc. Has the extra needlessly large rod snuck in there and after his last back as well. That is the one use item of the GA now on cooldown as well from Tussle, which means that, you know, that's an advantage for free. He didn't have to be there at that point in time. He was just fishing around for a bit of vision. He's lost his GA for it.
And that's a huge advantage now going over to the side for Sengoku because they know this Drake's coming up and they're actually going to be very okay if now Sengoku and the want to take this Drake and the Hawks have have to now go for the consolation prize of Baron. It's crazy to say consolation prize, but the problem is when you're playing with a Tahm Kench and Aatrox, you're okay to actually give a Baron over because you're like, yeah, that's fine. We can have this game go on for 5 more minutes. We just got a Mountain Drake. You can't actually push at us.
And, you know, we were talking about scaling, and, you know, arguably I'd say that Akali scales pretty okay when she gets the right items, and arguably Galio scales okay. It's only really the FLS.
They just get her Zhonya's, so that does help.
Yeah, the Zhonya's helps in these large, messy team fights, can maybe save you from one of those big ultimates.
Just looking for it, owing onto entry. That's not the person you want. Again, Moonlight Visuals onto it, 3 entries onto entry. He just puts the stopwatch, doesn't care about it. And now the taunt missing completely from Ramune again. Dasher coming in, Yutori Mudashi, huge ult coming through. Entry's still alive! You can't kill the Kench! Bench the Kench is what they're asking for. Perion still around the backside. Apperman taking a lot of the CC as Sengoku have used everything before this fight as Perion is just chilling, waiting for Tussle, looking hungry for the fight as they do have to reset as Mountain Drake comes back up and as a lot of the ults are still up for the side of Sengoku, especially
and
Perion.
That's what the 4th time that's happened in this game. There's a TP in from the Galio here which might be collapsed upon. We see NT coming back in with the Abyssal Voyage here. It's round 2 fight. There's the last embrace landing onto the Galio. So chains from Perion there as well. Doesn't manage to finish off Pooh, but it's good damage all the same. There's no big cooldowns been committed from Sengoku so far as well. The World End is just about to come off a cooldown, as is the Dragon's Rage kick as well. Sengoku, throughout all of this mess, do manage to find themselves an angle onto the Dragon here.
And this Senna is coming in so important for them because they're able to just sustain so far. This is a huge thing. Ramune, again, just getting caught out of position and just never getting a very good taunt from the side. It's because so good of Sengoku are so able to just engage, disengage, engage, disengage, and repeat this fight again as Period is going to go again into it. Comes back out as entry, shows his face as Blank does start up this Drake, which the side of the Hawks have zero vision of.
Again.
And now the Hawks are having to run
looks
back.
Like the Hawks are going to go towards Baron.
And that is not where you want to be going, Hawks. Honestly, this is the side of the Sengoku where they can collapse on you very quickly and you don't have the burst on it as Apperman is taking down the Drake with Blank. They now have the Soul, which is now going to make this Tahm Kench so tanky as Perion is now just scaring Tussle. Oh my god, he's so low.
Wait, Perion is still in the pit. He actually doesn't choose to go back there. It's the Gravitum ult committed from Honey there from the FLS. Apperman in the backline, but with all those tank stats, there is really no worry for him. The tanks are coming in from Sengoku. They keep rolling forward through this choke point. It's a good last embrace, but the Cosmic Radiance has come to reset the fight. Hawks are trying to go back here, trying to disengage, re-engage, but they can't cut the damage down onto Sengoku's lineup here. And at the end of it, it's just cooldowns burnt again from both sides. No kills involved.
Oh no, Entry's still hungry for it.
Though. Honey's been caught here. He flashes over the wall. Perion is there. The chains connect, and it's gonna take down the AD carry of the Hawks. Tussle goes down as well.
Coming in, trying to look for it, going on to Perion, going aggressive, but can't actually get onto.
Has the last part of the ult, but he's been rooted in place. Blank takes that one for his 3rd kill of the game. The kill score goes from 5 to 10. 5k involved as well, and now Sengoku will look towards the Baron after all said and done.
Oh my god, that's so much that just happened over the last 2 minutes. We didn't stop team fighting for 2 minutes. Sengoku were able to take the Mountain Drake Soul with no punishment, even going onto this Dragon. The side of the Hawks not able to fully punish them and then actually get punished themselves for not fully committing. I think they needed to actually aggressively go for this Baron or bait for it. The problem is Sengoku was so good at just collapsing so quickly. Having a Tahm Kench and double TP means you can be anywhere around this. Perion has come in so important. Now sitting at 5, 1, and 2. What replay are we getting?
A replay. How do we explain this? Okay, so
Moonlight Vigil goes on to Yutori Muashi, does hit through, but then they return straight back over. Dasher then has to use the Zhonya's, and then they just collapse very well.
Oh no.
You
know what Ramune does there? He flashes in with the root on him and he stuns up 2 other people.
Then Dasher is just so far ahead, he knows he just dies to Perion, so he has to flash away, and that's...
So what happens to Honey here? Because Honey goes up to push up the mid lane.
He walks.
Oh no, he greeds for the farm, gets hit by the slow, and then
you can't. It doesn't matter who you go because all of those people can just kill you from that side. And then Dasher, Tussle tried to come in and protect Honey's mistake, and then that was it. And as we saw...
Oh, we see another fight here. This is back to live. We see the Moonlight Visual committed, but that's on to just the Tahm Kenshi. Even though it's the Infernum, not the same as release numbers there. He's walking away with 3 items and a Negatron Cloak as well. No one can kill NT.
No, NT is now at this point where you just don't see it unless you play an hour-long game, normally in solo queue, versus a Tahm Kenshi.
Wait. You know, it's not something which I talk about often, but do you want to look at the difference in vision score between mid and AD carry? Do you want to have a look at that?
That's
vision score of 30 for Ramune, 101 for Pyrion. Not only is he getting all the kills, getting all the CS as well with like a 50 CS lead. He has a 60-70 vision lead.
I think you can just look at even better. I like the support vision lead, right? Look at that. Tarek, Pooh only has a 74. Entry, who's their carry in the support role, has
39.
Like, what is going on? This is a game where just the side of Sengoku have decided from basically minute 1 that we want to play this game till the end of time, and they're just the Terminator right now, very slowly going through. And well,
the siege onto this top inner turret as well. Real no way to defend that kind of turret.
And Pyrion has already hit level 18, whereas Ramune is 17. The side of the and Apperman as well, very methodically going through, doing this 4-on-1, which we have seen from them countlessly, pushing very slowly. Leave Apperman to do his thing because he's not scared of Dasher now. Dasher's scared of him. And with this Baron that's still going to be in play for another 26 seconds, it's going to be so hard for the side of the Hawks to actually keep this going. They don't have the greatest wave clear, whereas Sengoku are very happy to just kill these very low minions. As we do see, Apperman is probably going to get this turret down.
Oof. Yeah, he will do eventually. He has 2 cannons up there as well. Dash are going to try and walk forward and use the shuriken, the Q there, the little kunai strike. Doesn't end up... Well, he does manage to just get them aggroed onto the minions instead of being onto the turret. So actually, both the mid and top turrets will survive with the end of the Baron buff coming through there. Does mean that the next big fight will be around this Elder Dragon spawning in 1 minute 20 on my clock there. And what we see now is that there is a death cap for Pyrion. He didn't have that in that last little Baron push, and we already saw him half healthing, full healthing, different carries there. Well, not even carries. All of them. Killed Tussle, didn't he? He did that pretty okay. He's going to try and hit level 16 before this next fight. We'll see if he has that available to him. Probably not with the camps involved, though.
Probably not, but this is such a scary LeBlanc. LeBlanc that has now hit arguably her highest power spike that she's going to hit in this game. Her last item is 600 AP. Yeah, her last item's almost negligible at this point. This is a LeBlanc with a Banshee's Veil. You can't get on her because it's LeBlanc and she can mimic away and everything else away and dash away. But this is also a LeBlanc that has so much damage output, she can probably one-shot everyone on the team except for maybe Ramune.
Walking forward. Okay, nothing there. Apperman just dashing over the wall. Got a little bit worried there because we have seen the Hawks engage on the drop of a hat. They're trying to get some mid-priority. Tussle actually okay, so there's a really interesting center mechanic you can do. You can drop a ward and then you can Q your own ward to extend the range of your Q artificially. It's hilarious. We see Pyrion jumping forward, actually, with the Mountain Soul and the Banshee's Veil. Really nothing to threaten that LeBlanc from the mid lane. Gonna heal up that Mountain Soul as well. The shield refreshing there. Apperman gets the chains and the last embrace onto Tussle there.
Pyrion looking for Ramune.
There's a lot of posturing here, a lot of what-ifs, a lot of skill shots being thrown out. Pyrion hit by the taunt, but managed to flick back in time. And we see the maps being rotated. The red side's on the blue side, the blue side's on the red side. Honey walking up with the minion wave, to go intercept the minion wave. But Pyrion wants to say something about it. Ramune just avoids out on the chains, but Tussle is onto Pyrion. Flash forced away. This is all very back and forth. There's a flash no longer available for Pyrion there. So Honey tried to force out something from Pyrion. Doesn't manage to get much. Blank has been chunked down in the meantime. It's a whole mess of a fight. Dasher has been caught out a little bit there, but no one has been fully caught just yet.
Double stun!
Brace lands! And there's a huge Sentinel coming through as Dasher dives through, trying to deliver the Rek'Sai and the Galio into the backline. Apperman tries to get out the back of the fight. Tussle Castle's GA is down. Pyrian is alive. Dasher is dashing onto Pyrian. Utorimiyashi is still safe. Honey is wailing on the side of Sengoku, but no one is dead just yet. NC is the first to fall on the Tom Kench. Apperman will be soon after. There's a lot of blinking health bars on the remaining members of Sengoku, but it's 2 kills to the Hawks, who might even be able to take the Elder off the back of that fight.
Well played by Honey. Didn't die in that fight, and we said so much earlier that if they're going to be able to come into this fight, it's going to be through Honey and his placement. We've seen very rare crystal things. Currently, Ramune going this. Oh my god, Pyrian, you didn't want that. That's so big. Now that's going to be even longer now, and now that the side of Sengoku aren't going to be able to really fight over this Baron that is going to be reset, as Elder Drake's going to take a little bit longer to actually go down. But now you have to imagine, because of the death timers that is available, Apperman it's going to be 25 seconds, Pyrian it's going to be about 40 seconds at this point now. They should really be pushing for this Baron as well at the same time. They can probably delete this very quickly, as we've seen. Honey is so quick at doing this, as we see Ramune now. Oh no, it's Dasher TPing into this mid lane.
Okay.
Now they position themselves and should try and go for this. Blank is still up and has his smite, and they are trying to take the blast cone.
I don't think there's going to be a contest. I think if Blank goes down in a contest, I think that's probably the game gone as well. Does need that Lee Sin to be alive just to threaten a kick onto one of the carries there. I think the way the Hawks won that fight is by not making it a front to back. They made it messy. They managed to get, they managed to catch Pyrian out here at the start of it. As we said, the flash forced away, dives in, trying to get all this different bit of damage, as you know, Dasher tried to flash forward onto Pyrian there as well. That's what confused me in that one fight. We see that the map has been flipped. Everyone's looking for these individual plays onto each other. It never becomes a back to front.
And something that was really important to notice there is Ramune was actually zoning one of the only entrances, really kind of controlling the map awareness for him, then coming in with this cosmic the hero's entrance, knowing that Dash is going to get popped, so a lot of the CC is going to be reset, and they just don't know where to go for this fight, and then Sengoku has to try and fight. So yeah, and Honey's just on this backline, wailing on everyone. Entry eventually goes down because 4 people were attacking him. Then Apperman gets punished again for this exact same thing, and then they're able to just reset. Well played fight from the side of the Hawks. Now, you do have to ask that question. What can Sengoku do to try and regain control? First, they have to last out these buffs.
Wait out the buffs. That's the really big one. We see there's a full set of items on Honey. He has boots and 5 damaging items, whereas Utorimiyashi is sat on just not the Avarice Blade, that's a long gone item, on the Executioner's Calling there, but almost at full items themselves. And we do see a 4-item Tom Kench down in the support role as well, after building the Stone Plate alongside the Sunfire Cape, the Spirit Visage, and the Dead Man's Plate. Pyrian's still trying to jump forward, has an amp tone in inventory, so could build towards literally anything. And we do see a lot of items coming in across the board from pretty much everyone in the game.
Yeah, and I think they have to. They first need to wait out this Elder buff. This is arguably the Elder buff is the one they can't fight when the side of the Hawks have. This Elder buff now going down, this will allow, while Sengoku are still going to have the Hawks are going to still have the pressure, Sengoku are going to actually now be a lot more comfortable with fighting. Even against a Baron buff, it's only really going to affect the minions, and they've got the ability to poke a very far distance and pick fights when they want it. As we can see here, they're trying to force down onto
the top lane.
The problem is, the side of the Sengoku are very good at fighting against the Hawks' front line, meaning that they're not able to really push their way in. They can't brute force their way in, especially against this side of the Hawks when a Senna has got such a long range.
Yeah, so the base hasn't been broken. There's 30 seconds left, and this top lane inhibitor is pretty low HP. They might try and take that, but actually Sengoku have managed to get towards these cannon minions and kill them pretty easily with the range. We see the Gravitum ult committed from the Aphelios. Good chunk onto Dasher in return though from Pyrian.
Ramune caught out.
Chains, kicked into his team, and then we see the Dawning Shadow put across from Utorimiyashi. Ramune dashing back in, and now the Taracle has timed out. Pyrian dashing forward once again. He's gonna die, maybe. No, he doesn't. He tunnels out to safety. This is gonna be a really from both sides. A 4-man Mimic Distortion from Pyrian gets all the damage down. Then we have the hero's entrance, and no, the last embrace landing onto everyone. Utorimiyashi left unmolested on the backside here, and Pyrian dancing around like a pirouette dancer, and we see Dasher going down on the other side. Has been outdanced. Pyrian says, I am the lord of the dance. This is going to be a full ace, a teleport into the mid lane from Sengoku, getting victory from the jaws of defeat after a sloppy team fight around the Elder
as well.
And the Baron as well. NT's just gonna, you know, tank up the inhibitor tower. He doesn't care for your towers. Structures be gone. They are there to be broken by the frog. Unclog the frog comes out with 4 items. A huge
Only Tussle's gonna be up in 20 seconds. This is actually the end.
This is gonna be the game. Sengoku extend their winning streak to 5 games in a row, maybe even securing themselves 2nd place. The Nexus goes down at near enough 50 minutes. The game goes to Sengoku.
And welcome back over to the desk. I am still Alex, otherwise known as Lexi. I got my master on the internet. I'm of course still joined by the impeccable, incredible, amazing Alex Hapgood, otherwise known as Nymera. What a game we just saw from Sengoku and the Hawks, respectively.
Can I just say, I really like not thinking about the game. I'm just there like, wow, big plays, woo!
That was just like crazy things happening at every single point. Wow. But as I did hint towards that, I thought the game was won in Champ Select by Sengoku. And I said they wanted to scale, and they did have a very bad hiccup. Let's not say they didn't. That was poorly played at that one point. They almost threw it all away. The problem is the Hawks stayed for far too long and weren't aware that Sengoku were really scared of this Baron buff. Let's go back over, if you're still watching this game, over to the replay so we can really pinpoint what's happened.
I paused it.
Oh, okay. So it comes in. I'm going to just do it for the viewers. It comes in. Ramune really goes far too aggressive, and then a lot of things are thrown onto it. The Moonlight Vigil were thrown onto NT only for that Gravitonol, and then Ramune getting his taunt cancelled by the knockup of Apperman. And then from there, the whole team of the Hawks are in panic run mode. The problem is, this is against the LeBlanc, who has a Mimic, gets that 4-person one, and with a center as well. This is a team you can't run away from. Getting the hero's entrance also only onto your own team and nobody there just means it was a complete whitewash. And while Dash is trying to do things, this is onto Pyrion, who is able to just mimic and go everywhere, and Blank is almost as good at going around a map as quickly as possible as a LeBlanc, and then that was over.
Just look at the dancing shoes from Pyrion there, blinking back and forth and back and forth. That was a really good running battle from Sengoku to close out that game, because if they had managed to get back into a reset, we saw that these messy fights can go either way. One went to the side of the Hawks, it got them an Elder, it got them a Baron. One went to the side of Sengoku, it won them the damn game.
And that was just exactly how Sengoku had lined it up in their head, now putting them to an incredible win streak of 7-4. That's that 5-win streak which win streak which you hinted at this moment, and that's their first game played. And now that actually puts the Hawks in a very precarious spot. They have to now win both their games or they will not make playoffs. Full stop.
Oh, really?
That's huge. It. They are now at the very bottom of the table. They are 5th place, currently played both their games for the day. 2 losses for them. 1 against DFM, 1 against Sengoku just now. Pushes them to a 4-8 standing. This is really all to play for. And everybody else currently on that 4-6 record coming into this spot, as we did have a tied 5 teams in that 4th place. This means everybody's thinking, okay, that's really good to know that we now have a little bit of a buffer in our head. There is another team that will be joining them, but now they have to fight 2 more games. And let's quickly just think about tomorrow's games. Sengoku are facing off against Burning Core, and they're also facing off against Rascal Jester. 2 teams who are also in that same spot. If they pick up
the Hawks are playing exactly the same teams tomorrow as well. They're also playing versus Burning Core and Rascal Jester.
That's what I just said
against both. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're playing against the same teams. I think it'd be nice to see like the comparison between 2 of them as they face the same opponents.
Yes, and that's going to be a really interesting matchup. These are 2 teams that are still sitting on that 4-6 record, meaning that, which is what you were saying. Sorry, we're running over each other's points. Meaning that if they pick up a win, they can't. That basically guarantees the Hawks out.
That's huge. That's so huge, considering that we had them in our top 3 from our preseason.
They were my pick to basically win it, and now I look incredibly stupid. But this was a breakout season from Honey and a return from Ramune, which just hasn't been looking that strong.
He's been hot and cold. He's been looking really good on certain picks.
Both of them.
I think that Tussle has also been a bit hot and cold as well.
Yeah.
I think this game Tussle got really handed his ass to him by Pyrion. Pyrion went off this game. I think if I was going to give a player of the game particularly, it would be Pyrion.
Yes.
He was dancing around
So
all
well.
game on the LeBlanc. That being said, it's kind of close with Yutori Miyashi, who didn't die as well. He got
True.
like multiple 4-man Dawning Shadows. Huge team fights from both teams. We love to see games like this, which are back and forth. It shows, mechanically, macro-wise, decision-making, who comes out as the better team. And like you were saying, maybe it came from the draft. I think that the Akali-Galio combo is pretty fun. But there were 3 or 4 times that game where ultimates just got fired off, nothing happened. And you can't do that with a wombo comp.
No, you can't. And like when you do that multiple times over and over again, it really puts everything in a really weird spot. Our final game for the day is going to be Crest Gaming Act versus Rascal Jesters. Now, Crest are coming off of a loss, whereas Rascal Jesters, if I can remember last week rightly, they're coming off a win. So Rascal Jesters coming in a bit warm. They after their win against Burning versus Burning Core. Now coming up against Crest Gaming Act, who are now on a loss streak of 2 losses in a row. If this adds to 3rd, this will push them far lower down the table, and this will actually make Rascal Jesters be tying with Crest Gaming Act, who are still 3rd place, but barely, with a lot of teams still sitting on that 4 and 6, and Crest sitting at 5 and 6. They get that another loss, they'll be pushed to 5 and 7, and it looks even more juicier for all these other teams who are sitting in a far greater spot. But we will come up with our predictions and everything else that will be happening right after this very quick break. Thank you so much for watching.